For this next set of data, we're going to be looking at a very common type of signal encountered when you're doing heat exchanger inspections with the bobbin coil probe. So for this module, we are going to go to File, Open Project. We're going to select Kortek Training _002. Then we're going to go to T-list. Now, a lot of times, if you can't see any data in your selected cal group, you have to go to Data and say Set Default. The cal that I have loaded for this module is cal 5, so we're going to select that. And the reason you see all these gray spots in here is I started with a complete set of data, but I went in and deleted all of the tubes that didn't have dents, because the purpose of this module is to look at dent signals. Now, dents, sometimes called dings, they are really just a reduction in the tube inside diameter. Dings are very common, and they can happen from assembly of the heat exchanger, when in the tube mill they're inserting the tubes in through all the tube support plates. Sometimes they have to wiggle them to get them to go through all the different support plates during assembly. So sometimes you get dents or dings that way. And a lot of times you'll see them in pairs, because as they're wiggling the tube back and forth to try to get them through the support plates, you'll get two dents or dings. So first, let's start off by just loading the calibration run. And what you can do is go to Setup, File, Open, and then you can pick my setup K7060 and say Open. Now that you've done that, you can go back into Setup and say File, Save Copy. You can click on the X1234, that's your login, and say Save, and say yes, overwrite it. Then, of course, if you click on the screening button here, as you go from tube to tube, it will maintain your screening parameters. So let's take a look at what's in our calibration standard here. This first signal that you see at the bottom of the strip charts is an ID groove in the calibration standard. ID grooves are common in ASNT calibration tubes. These strip charts look the same because I have the same channel. So let's change the right strip chart over to channel 6. So you can see the absolute signals on the right, differential signals on the left. The next signal up in our calibration tube is going to be the 100% hole. And as you can see, it looks the same on channel 1, 3, 5, and 7, because that's the way I calibrated this signal, 40 degrees. If I go to the next signal, I can go to the next signal by either left click and drag the data down to my window like that, or I can simply just go to this long strip charts and click on it. So that's the 80% flat bottom hole from the OD of the tube. Then we got a 60, 40, 20, and then we've got a 20%, 10 or 20% OD groove in the cal tube, also a common discontinuity in the ASNT calibration tube. But just a little recap on phase analysis. If you set the 100% hole to 40 degrees on all of your raw differential channels, notice what happens to the phase as we get to an 80% flaw. They rotate counterclockwise as you decrease in the frequencies. So for example, this 80% hole is at 94 degrees on channel 1. It rotates counterclockwise on the next lowest frequency. It goes from 94 degrees to 69. If you lower your frequency even more to channel 5, you're going to have more counterclockwise rotation with decreasing test frequency. So this rotates just as an OD flaw should. Next, we have the 60, does the same thing, rotates counterclockwise with decreasing test frequency. Then we got the 40, then we've got the 20s, and then we've got the 20% OD groove. So notice how all of the OD flaws share common characteristics. So the next thing we're going to do is go to the T list, and we're going to scroll down to this first tube, entry number 20. It's row 11, tube 40. You can either double click it here where it says 20, or once you highlight it, you can just go down here and click OK. So that loads that tube. So notice how it put the same channel in both my strip charts. That's because I didn't toggle the screening button after I changed my strip chart, because that's a screening parameter. So if I just change the right strip chart to channel 6 and then go toggle the screening button, now if I change this and go to the next tube, it's going to bring channel 6 back. So that's what we want. So go back to the T list. I'm going to select entry 20, pull that tube in. Now, remember we talked about pattern recognition. If I just start scrolling through my data, you see a bunch of signals. And again, if it gets off screen, you just hit the space bar and that will rebalance your display. But see how they all look about the same? Those are all tube support plates. So we're looking for something that looks different. Now, we know that scan direction is important when you're doing bobbin data analysis. It doesn't mean I can't scroll up and down. I can scroll however I like. But when you're actually characterizing an indication, you're going to want to start from below the indication on the long strip charts and scroll up through it. That's the way you get the right direction. But as I'm scrolling along, a bunch of support plates, hit the space bar to balance the data. When I get down about here, I start to see a bunch of horizontal deflections. You see that? Though that is an area of denting. What about this one up here? You see that? Looks a little bit different. See way at the top of the strip chart, you see little things sticking out here? That is a pair of dents. Now, one thing about dents, one way you can tell that they're dents is, now again, there's two of them here, but if I take my right mouse button, click and drag, I can adjust the size of these goalposts, they call it. If I make them a little smaller and then go and drag this expanded strip chart data down into those goalposts, you can see up here in the listed view on channel 1, starts to the left, comes back to null, then it goes to the right, comes back to null. That's a classic dent signal. This dent happens to be in the free span. So if I line up the flyback transition, they call it, that's when it goes from one coil to the next. Line that up on the center, and if you go up to the listed view and just click it once, it does a peak-to-peak measurement, 183 degrees. But if you click the left mouse a second time, it'll measure max rate. That's the straightest part of that transition. So we got 181 degrees. Now look at how this signal rotates between the differential signal or differential channels. 181 degrees, 183, 191. That's one of those things you have to remember is when we talk about rotation, calibration standard discontinuities are usually the best signal that you'll get. They don't actually replicate what's going on in an operating heat exchanger. So you have to take cal standard signals sort of with a grain of salt. They're not going to look exactly the same when you encounter, like in this case, a dent in an actual heat exchanger tube. But typically the rotation doesn't change much when you go up or down in test frequencies. Now we'll look at some other ones that are going to remain extremely flat, but in this case, there's a little bit of rotation in there. Let's go to the next dent right next to it. That one looks pretty much the same. It lies pretty flat on all the differential channels. I would just report that as a dent. Now normally I'd have a button set up in here called a flag key, where you could just click it and it would make this entry to your report. This is a dent signal, and I would also report that as a dent signal. Now your ETSS sheets, they'll contain all of the 3-letter codes that you can use during your inspection. One of the things listed on your ETSS would be a dent. You'd enter that as a 3-letter code, DNT. Now, if I go back down to the bottom of my strip chart here, now I've got an area with quite a few more dents. Now, this is the span control here, or gain control. Left and right click just changes the span of that. So I could go down here and that would probably be a dent. Of course, that's coincident with a tube support plate structure. Let's focus on free span things for right now. And I can zoom in on my strip charts using my scroll button on my mouse. I mean, here you can see several more free span things. They're all pretty flat on all the differential channels. So I could report those. Now let's go to the T list. Let's go look at another tube's got some dents, N342. Now again, I can just scroll up through my data. You see a bunch of tube support plates in there. Oh, see that right there? You see something sticking out, you're going to go and visit those signals. That's a dent. Doesn't rotate much between channels, lays pretty flat. There's another dent. They call these paired dents. You got two of them at the same location. Now, one thing about strip charts, remember we're watching the vertical component of these strip charts. If you do a middle click on here, you're going to change to the horizontal. And when you do that, look at how much this dent signal sticks out on the horizontal strip chart. That's because these strip charts will display either the horizontal component or the vertical component. Large deflection on the horizontal strip chart, that's because there's a large horizontal excursion in my expanded strip charts. Watch what happens to the strip chart when I change it back over to vertical. You see just about nothing. That's because in the vertical component of the expanded strip chart, there's not much of a displacement because the signal is mostly horizontal. So if you were strictly looking for dents, you could just watch the horizontal strip charts. And then, you'd see tube support plates because they also have a large horizontal component. But this thing out in the middle of nowhere, that would be a set of paired dents. So back to the vertical strip chart. Now down towards the bottom of the strip chart, we've got some more of those. Some more of those dent indications. This particular dent, you can see it's pretty close to a tube support plate if you look in the other listed views. But this one is out of the free span because you don't have a tube support plate signal anymore. Now I can zoom in on the strip charts. I'm centered right on a tube support plate there. This tube support plate has a dent coincident right with the edge of the support plate. You can see that up here, one lobe of the TSP and part of the dent signal. But as I move away from the tube support plate signal, you got a dent in the free span. Notice how these dent signals all start to the left first, right? Look at the horizontal component of your expanded strip chart. Start to the left, and then they go all the way to the right and back to null. Looks like we got another one here. All right. Next, we'll go to another tube. Balance on our strip charts. Again, lots of tube support plates. They all look the same. No problem with those supports. Oop, right there. We've got another set of paired dents in the free span. Notice how all these are looking pretty much the same. They're flat, more or less, on all of our differential channels. And then we've got a few more. We got one down there. Now see, that's just a normal looking tube support plate. What you see here, these are U-bend tubes, but because the bend radius of the U-bend's too tight, the acquisition team only puts in the probe up until they hit the bend region, and then they stop. So this is only a partial recording of the tube because they couldn't get full length because they couldn't get over the U-bends. All right, so hopefully you're starting to see a pattern with some of these dent signals. Dents by themselves are not discontinuities. There's no degradation of the tube. It's just that there is a reduction in the tube ID. It's a change to fill factor, essentially. We'll go pull up another tube here. Space bar to balance. You see a bunch of tube support plates. There you got another set of paired dents. Now, they're not always in pairs. Very common to see just one dent signal. Now, this is actually a lot cleaner looking dent signal than we've seen before. Starts to the left, goes back to null. Other half of the differential coil pair sees them, goes to the right, back to null. Not a lot of rotation between the different channels. All right, so now you've seen highly repetitive signals, tube support plates, and then you've seen one of the most common types of signals that you'll see, denting. One thing you have to be careful of with dent signals is that a dent by itself is not degradation or discontinuity or defect, whatever you want to call it, but it is a stress riser. You can have residual stress at dent or ding locations. So it's very important that every time you see a dent signal like that, you want to look for counterclockwise rotation of the different differential channels. Once they start to rotate counterclockwise a bit, especially on the lower channels like channel 5, that's when it's a suspect that you might have some degradation at the same location of the dent.